महापंथ यह योग है, सहज श्वेत है धाम, तेज पुंज सत्पुरुष है, तह हंसन विश्राम।
VYGOS is Vihangam Yoga Global Online Satsang, which is scheduled every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. Indian Standard Time. Those who would miss to attend the morning session can listen to the broadcast replay on Sunday evening at 4:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time. The aim of this forum is to give the entire world an opportunity to learn the ancient science of meditation and benefit from this pious service inspired by Sadguru Sadafal Dev Ji Maharaj, the pioneer of Vihangam Yoga. If you are interested in learning the technique or want to conduct a program at your place, and for any inquiry related to it, please feel free to write to us at info@vihangamyog.org. That is info@vihangamyoga.org.
Jai Shivdev everyone, and welcome to another edition of Vihangam Yoga Global Online Satsang. I myself Sudhanshu, joining from Delaware, USA, and I'm very excited to bring you the new series called Strengthening Meditation. In our previous few sessions, we were going through the series of Controlling Mind. On that series, we had multiple sessions where we discussed about how to be regular in meditation, as well as we talked about 10 dharmas, how we can acquire those dharma in ourselves, as well as we talked about how our day should be, how we should start our day, and how we should proceed ahead in meditation. In the next series, which we are starting today, we will talk about strengthening meditation. And in this series, in the first session today, we will talk about mind, the friend and the enemy. Before we begin unwinding the topic, before we start to discuss it with our global panel, we will first start with the welcoming prayer. These prayers are offered on the feet of Master of Vihangam Yoga. Let us immerse ourselves in his thought. These prayers are ancient, and the scientific words of this prayer will help to set up environment around us for best introspect further. So let's go ahead with these welcome prayers.
आज स्वागत नित्य गुरुवर संत शुभागम आइए, अध्यात्म विद्या दिव्य ज्योति सोमरस बरसाइए। दोष दुर्गुण दूर करके शुद्ध हंस बनाइए, भेद गम गति ज्ञान गर्जन शक्ति द्वार हटाइए। खुले द्वारा शब्द सागर भक्त जन अनहवाइए, जन सदा फल विश्व शिक्षक शान आन बचाइए, शान आन बचाइए। विश्व शांति नाम मंगल परम गुरु को ध्याइए, वर्ग द्वंद्व शांति दूर कर भाव भेद मिटाइए। सार्वभौम समष्टि सत्ता त्यात्मराज बनाइए, वेश भाषा भाव जगमय ज्ञान पर दर्शाइए। समृद्धि सुख शांति धरातल स्वर्ग भूमि बनाइए, विश्व शिक्षक जन सदा फल नीति स्वर अपनाइए, नीति स्वर अपनाइए।
Thank you for the beautiful composition. Keeping this feeling with us, let's dive into our QA session on mind, the friend, and the enemy. If you have any question and thoughts starts to collect, and if you want to share these thoughts and questions, so we have our two platforms here. The first one is slido.com/vyzos, and the second platform is our WhatsApp number, which you will see on the screen. So let's move towards the Q&A session for the day. In the middle of this session, we will stop for a bhajan, which will give you some time to think what we are talking about, as well as which will help you to collect some questions. Without further delay, this week we have Chandanji, who joined from Singapore, and Abhinavji, who joined from Australia in our global panel. And these two will help us out today in answering these questions and participating in this discussion. Abhinav Kishoreji, who joined from Australia, he is a project lead in Atlassian. He is based in Sydney, and he is passionate about history, philosophy, design, and most prominently, spirituality. And Chandan Singh, who is based in Singapore from more than 2 years. He is working there in the IT department of a telecom company in Singapore, and he is also associated with Vihangam Yoga from his childhood. I hope you can hear me, Abhinavji and Chandanji.
Yes, most definitely. Thank you for the lovely introduction.
Yes, Sudhanshuji, I can also hear you. Thank you so much for the lovely introduction.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Abhinavji and Chandanji. So now, without further delay, let's start with the discussion of today's topic. As I mentioned, that today is the first session of the topic called strengthening meditation. And in the first session of this topic, we will talk about mind, the friend, and the enemy. In Upanishad, it's mentioned that mana eva manushyanam karanam bandha moksho. Who's your enemy? Mind is your enemy. No one can harm you more than your own mind untamed. And who's your friend? Mind is your friend. No one can help you more than your own mind wisely trained. So, in today's session, we will talk about mind and how your mind can become your friend or how it is your enemy. So, as this topic is all about mind, let's start with the very first question, and that is, what is mind? And I would like to request Abhinavji to share your views on this.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you for setting us up with that beautiful doha as well. I think as Sudhanshuji just mentioned, like this entire series is all focused on strengthening the urge and the understanding of meditation, and he just gave a beautiful explanation of the doha from the Upanishad about the mind.
before I try my best to put some color on what the mind is, I just wanted to mention that, we can only become more strong in our desire to meditate if we understand what we're trying to control. Like if you look at, your own habits in life, like when I look at my own habits and when I started to, let's say, become more tidy as a person or more aware of what I'm eating or whatever it is, it's only because I started to understand the value of those things. And, very much so when it comes to this topic of strengthening meditation, the mind is at the core of this discussion, as, has been mentioned already. So to understand what the mind is, all you need to do is close your eyes, really. So try to close your eyes and try to control your thoughts. And you can try it just as I'm speaking for 30 seconds, a minute, however long you want. And no matter who you are in the world, you will notice that for a few moments you can control your thoughts. You may be able to think about one particular thing, or if you want to take it up a level, you can try to stop thinking completely. So tell yourself, I'm not going to think about anything. And organically, somehow, you start to tussle with yourself. You start to have trouble achieving that thing of not thinking or thinking about one thing. And it poses a very interesting problem because you want to do something, but something else is actually happening. So in the spiritual philosophy and the yogic philosophy, as we become more subtle, as we meditate, as we understand ourselves better, we start to identify that there are different forces within us which are at battle with each other. And one of these forces is particularly tricky. It has also been called a monkey symbolically in different cultures, in different philosophies. It's called by so many different names, but the property it has is a very troubling property. That when it becomes active, when it becomes when it has energy within it, the way it acts, the way it performs its activities, is that it is very distracted and uncontrolled in nature. So, before I try to answer the question more directly, and I, of course, want to understand what Chandanji has to say on this as well. But before I do that, just to illustrate this, think about it this way. You're sitting in a chair and you're typing away, maybe at work, maybe at uni, maybe at school, you're sitting at a desk and you're writing. But for some reason, someone is standing next to you and they just keep shaking the desk. And you are so used to it that you don't even realize. You keep writing, you get distracted, you keep trying. And eventually, at some point in your life, you realize that there's someone shaking your desk all the time. Like, why is this happening? And the mind is really, this is what the mind is. The mind, by definition, is an entity which exists within us, which is not entirely conscious or entirely inert. It has both properties. It is sort of the interface between the conscious energies within us and the sensory organs and the sensory objects or properties which we have. And all it does is it will look at all the information which it has available to it, whether it is through the senses or through the accumulated experiences you have, and it will try to use those things to distract you. And this is why in spirituality, and I'm sure we'll discuss this further, it is seen as the core of most of the problems we have in life. So if you can control your mind, if you can tame your mind, you can then sit in one place and you can be completely present. You can be completely at rest and you can focus with this renewed energy, which, allows you to achieve so many more things. So, in short, there is this entity within us which we can observe. Just close your eyes and observe it for yourself. Even if it's not observing it completely, you'll at least observe what it's doing. And then you can start to see how it is using all the information it has to distract you. You're sitting there, it'll try to remind you of things that have happened. You're sitting there, it will try to develop fears inside you, or fear will develop inside of you of a future which you do not know about. So, it sits there as a conscious and inert entity, distracting us all the time. So, that's my short reflection on this. I'd love to hear what Chandanji has to say as well.
Thank you, Abhinavji. I think you have explained very beautifully. Um, from my side, let's move further so that I can add my points as well. I'm very fortunate to have an opportunity in this forum to speak for the first time. Till now, I had been doing bhajans, but for the first time, I have got this opportunity. So I want to utilize this opportunity to explain my thoughts, put my thoughts in this forum again. So when this topic I had to thought of, I started thinking that where should I get some information to uh, understand and to make others also understand, and then I turned towards the Swarved. Swarved is encyclopedia of spirituality, and Swamiji has written everything inside it, which one can find everything and understand everything easily. So Swamiji has written in Swarved, मन चेतन जद नहीं बने, मन माध्यम परिमाण, तीन कारण मन से जगई, मन अनुके स्थान, अक्षर मन का योनि है, अक्षर से मन होए, पंचभूत से मन नहीं, यह तत्व समझा कोय. These two couplets from Swarved explain what is mind. Actually, mind is neither conscious nor inert. Mind is an entity between the consciousness and inertness. It is therefore called Agantuk Chetan. Human body has four inner organs: Man, Buddhi, Ahankar, and Chit. And mind is one of the inner organ of the human body. Mind is the man's faculty of thinking, reasoning, and applying knowledge. Mind is the boss of our body. It runs the show and controls just about everything we do. It is usually defined as the faculty of an entity's thoughts and consciousness. The mind is center of soul and core of the spiritual body. Over to you, Sudhanshuji.
Thank you, Chandanji, and thank you, Abhinavji, for beautiful explanation of this question that what is mind, and as both of you mentioned that mind is neither conscious nor inert, and as this question itself is what is mind, and you both very beautifully explained that how it works inside us, and that's the main confusion in people, that whenever we talk about uh, like in our sessions, whenever we ask them where is your mind, and the biggest confusion is some people understand or thinks that it's your brain, or someone will think that it's your prana, the breathing, so they will try to control that, or it's your thoughts or what. So before proceeding to the next question, as you both mentioned that it's not your brain, not your breathing pranas, it's dual in nature. It's neither inert nor conscious. And as Chandan, you mentioned that it originates from Akshar, as Swamiji mentioned in Swarved. So this is all about that mind is a conscious when it originates, and when it come into the Prakriti, it becomes inert due to the surroundings and ignorance. So before proceeding ahead, the second thought which comes in my mind, like now as we have a basic understanding that what mind is, the next question which comes in my mind, and as Abhinav was explaining that just sit idle and try to see how your thoughts are going, and what how things are coming in yourself. So if we try to understand that how mind functions within your body, then I think that will give a clear picture about mind, that what it is and how it is working within us. So this time, let's start with Chandanji. What you have? What's your thought about this?
Okay, so in order to understand how does mind works, I would like to start with an example. So let's consider there is a king who wanted to rule his kingdom. So in order to rule the kingdom, king will require a minister. There are other people also who he will need, but the main man who will be in charge of all his execution of rules and regulations will be the minister. So minister is the one who is talking to others and gives direction to execute the plans. In this case, minister is the one who is updating to the king about all the activities going on outside. In the same way, our body also, soul is the king and our mind is the minister. Mind is the organ who is coordinating and giving instructions to the other inner and outer organs. And slowly, mind takes control on our whole body. Swamiji has written in Swarved, शुद्ध अशुद्ध दो भेद हैं, मन ही अवस्था होय, इंद्रिन उक्ता शुद्ध हैं, शुद्ध समासर होय. There are two stages of mind. One we can call pure mind and another one is impure mind. If mind follows the soul, then it is in right direction and it will act as a friend. The body will become pure. If mind follows the outer sense organs, then it will start behaving like enemy and the body will get inclined towards the impurity. Most of the time, we have felt that mind tries to take us to the negative direction. If we want to do something, then mind will try to bring negativity. For example, every morning we try to wake up and do the meditation in Brahm Muhurt, but sometimes we start thinking about sleeping and for some more time, and the mind will start making us think that we can do this tomorrow, not today. If speed of mind is not controlled, it will run like anything. It will not allow you to focus on things which you are doing. Let me share one story with you all. There was an old man who used to be well respected in society and was having knowledge about spirituality. He used to worship God every day for hours and hours and was very happy. In the same house, his daughter in law was also there who used to read mind and understand what are the thoughts going on in the mind of people around her. One day, the old man was doing his worship with his full devotion from so long. In between, there was somebody who knocked on the door and asked about the old man. The daughter in law replied that he has gone to market to buy some vegetables and asked the person to come after half an hour. Again, after half an hour, same man came back and the daughter in law said that he was back but went to gold shop to collect something. Again, after 30 minutes, the man when came back, then daughter-in-law said, sorry, he was back, but went again to buy some slippers. She apologized to the man and said, don't know what is happening today, but I am sorry. The old man was listening all these things and he left his worship and came back and asked to his daughter-in-law that why he was lying. The daughter-in-law replied that I know you are doing worship, but in between you thought of going to market to buy vegetables because today the rates will be less. Then you thought of going to gold shop to buy the necklace, and while coming back you were planning to buy the sandals as the shop is in the same way. The old man was shocked to know these things and agreed that these thoughts were there in his mind when he was doing the worship. The summary is the mind will run here and there and will not let us do the things properly. Although he was doing worship, but he was thinking these two, three things parallelly. So, in this way, the mind keeps us deviating from here to there and makes us work not in proper direction. Over
Yeah,
to Sudhanshuji.
yeah. Thank you, Chandanji. And yeah, you, as you said, rightly, it happens to all of us that we normally not able to focus or concentrate on what we are doing. Whenever you are doing something, some other thoughts keep coming to us. Uh, so let's hear from Abhinavji that what's his thought about it. Abhinavji.
Yeah, sure. Thank you to Chandanji for those beautiful tales there. They gave a lot of good thoughts to all of us. Yeah, I think in terms of when we say how does the mind function, it's a very deep question, which if we can understand how the mind functions, then we really start to touch on the topology of our existence in a way. And the first thing I want to mention is that language is not very important here. What's important is the experience, right? So the experience here is you sit in one place and you start to become more subtle. You start to notice your thoughts, you start to notice your impulses, your feelings, your emotions, and you start to trace it back to one force first, and that force is the mind, which Chandanji explained very beautifully from the Swadhyabhed as well. Now, you start to notice this force and what it's doing and its nature as a distracted entity. But then as you become more and more subtle, you start to notice that that entity itself is drawing its energy from somewhere else. So, for myself, like I am trained and I work as an engineer. I deal with systems all day. And any system, you look at any system in the world, it can only be active if there is a source of energy within that system. Now, for the mind, the most interesting thing is on the yogic path, as you become aware of the mind and its properties, you start to realize that it is not a self-contained system in the sense that it does not draw energy. It is not an energy source, basically. It is not the engine which is driving things. So in the Swadhyabhed, then, in this experience of spirituality, which the Swadhyabhed most beautifully inscribes, as you become more subtle, you start to notice that there is a more subtle force inside of you, which is the engine of the body. And this engine, you can call it whatever you want, but it is there. It is within your body and it drives your body to work. It is through that your sensory organs are animated. It is through that your mind is activated. And this source of energy is called different things in different cultures. In the spiritual philosophy, in Vihangam Yoga, we call it the Atma, the soul. But the experience is what's most important, remember. So when you sit and you experience this entity, you start to realize what's happening. You start to realize that the engine of your body, which is who you actually are, because you trace this energy back and you realize, hey, this is who I actually am. You start to notice that its energy is being drawn away and into the world, and it's being thrown at everything in front of you. So, sometimes we look at the animal kingdom and we feel a sense of trying to find the right word, but we feel a sense of not really pity, but we feel a sense of intrigue and and we're mesmerized by how some different creatures they behave differently. If you look at a bee, it will buzz around, it will go to the nectar and the pollen of different flowers, and it will try to extract the pollen, extract the sweetness of that thing, and then it will go to another one, it'll go to another one. Now, it's a bit of a blunt statement, but how is it that our life is different to that? Maybe we're not getting our nectar from flowers, but we're just using our sensory organs to arguably do the same thing. We're just seeking nectar in different places. So as we go through this process of understanding what's happening internally and how the mind functions by being powered by the soul, and then taking all of that energy and driving it through the senses, which we call the indriyas. As we start to understand this, words like maya and words like illusion start to converge and start to emerge in our consciousness, because we realize that what is actually happening is not what should be happening. What should be happening is I am the engine, I am the controller. The mind should be following what I have to say. So that is my short reflection on this one as well. Back to you, Sudhanshuji.
Yep. Thank you, Abhinavji. And as very beautifully explained, that uh, as you said, that we can consider ourselves as a engine, and mind is using our energy to perform his work. But as we face day to day, that mind is not actually doing what we want all the time, as we just heard from Chandanji and Abhinavji as well, that sometimes what happens that you are trying to do something and mind will try to show you that something else is important. Either it will give you excuses that why this is not important, or it will bring some other thoughts and show it as a priority for you. So we'll definitely discuss about that, that how mind functions and how we can uh, make mind works under our control. So we'll discuss about that as well. But before that, let's go for a bhajan. So the role of a bhajan, a devotional song, in the process of satsang is the key. Similar to the prayer offered in the feet of Master earlier, bhajan aims to connect us, listeners and seekers, with a deeper sense of humility and longingness to understand the science of spirituality and experience it. Today we have Rahulji, who joined from Spain. Rahulji is a mathematician and a researcher in Spain who joined the session, and I'll request him to put a bhajan. Over to you, Rahulji.
यह मन तो शीतल भया जैसे गंगा नीर, पीछे पीछे भरी फिरे कहत कबीर कबीर। जो तू चाहे मुझको छाड़ी सकल की आस, मुझ ही ऐसा होए रहो सब सुख तेरे पास। साहिब तेरा अंदर बैठा, बाहर नैना क्यों खोले मन मस्त हुआ, मन मस्त हुआ, मन मस्त हुआ तब क्यों बोले मन मस्त हुआ। हीरा पायो गठ गठियायो, बार बार वाको क्यों खोले मन मस्त हुआ, तब क्यों बोले मन मस्त हुआ। Kabir Sahab says, when you are discontent from inside, then only we have all the chattering from the monkey mind. When you inculcate the feeling of completeness, then the chattering stops. हल्की थी जब चढ़ी तराजू, हल्की थी जब चढ़ी तराजू, पूरी भई तब क्यों तोले मन मस्त हुआ, तब क्यों बोले, तब क्यों डोले, मन मस्त हुआ। सूरत कलारी भई मतवारी, सूरत कलारी भई मतवारी, मदवा पी गई बिन तोले, मन मस्त हुआ, अब क्यों बोले, मन मस्त हुआ, तब क्यों डोले। हंसा पाए मान सरोवर, ताल तलैया क्यों डोले, मन मस्त हुआ, मन मस्त हुआ। कहे कबीर सुनो भाई साधु, साहिब मिल गए तिल ओले, मन मस्त हुआ, मन मस्त हुआ, तब क्यों बोले। Jai Sud Gurudev all. I was joining this bridge from Bilbao, Spain. यह मन तो
Thank you, Rahul ji, for this beautiful bhajan of Sahib Kabir. And as the bhajan is Man Mast Hua Tab Kyun Bole. And we are talking about the same topic. We are talking about the mind. We are talking about, like, just before this bhajan, we were discussing that how mind functions within us. And when we were talking about that, when Chandan ji and Abhinav ji both were explaining, what we found that it happens with all of us that we are trying to do something and suddenly mind gives us something else. It tries to show that something else is important. Just take an example. When you woke up in the morning and try to go for meditation, it happens that your mind will give you so many excuses. Let's sleep a little longer, or you are much tired today, or some other priorities. So, mind is giving you something else, and we are looking for something else. So, the question is how to make the best use of mind in our own favor. What we should do that mind start helping us. What we should do that mind will become our friend, not our enemy. And to take this, I would like to ask Abhinavji, what's your thought about this?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Yeah, so for us in the physical world, we experience different kinds of forces even beyond our body. So the question of how can we, kind of reverse the mind, and that's a bit of a hint, but how can we reverse the way in which the mind works and make it a friend? If you look at a car, it's traveling at, say, 80 kilometers an hour on a road. Now, by the law of mechanics and Newtonian physics, there is a force which is present between the tires of the car and the road. And if you make a sudden turn, or if you go at a very fast pace, you will see that force physically. You would see sparks and fire emerge from that contact between the two conflicting forces, in a sense. And that's a bit of a hint, because when we look at systems in the world, in the physical world, where the two systems conflict against each other. There is this force which emerges, which is called friction, right? Or air resistance, or, I'm not an expert in things like contact physics and mechanics, but in essence, there is a friction present between those two forces or those two systems. Now, within us, there is this constant friction going on. As Chandanji explained in the tale earlier, as Sudhanshuji has been explaining as well, there is this constant friction inside us between what we want to do and between what the mind is making us do. So the question is, what does this lead to? In the physical world, physical friction between two forces, between two systems, if it goes for too long, it starts to erode the surface of that thing. So that's why, your tires, if you look at Formula One races, the tires have to be replaced. They have to be made of certain materials. But what about the friction inside of us? What happens? And there's this very topical modern word which very beautifully, or maybe not beautifully, but very clearly explains what happens. And that word is stress. So, as this frictional contact continues within us, we start to enter a state where the world becomes a little heavier and the world becomes a more turbulent in nature. And the source of all this is what we call stress. And the source of stress is that the direction in which the mind is traveling and the direction in which you want to travel is different. So the question is, what should you do? Now, if you would put this question to a child, okay, I have two things that are going in different directions and they are colliding against each other. The child may say, well, why don't you just make them go in the same direction, right? And it's a very simple but novel solution to the problem. And to be honest, this is the solution. The solution to the problem of mind is to reverse the flow of mind, rather than having the mind, take energy from the soul and then scatter it through the world with the indriyas. The solution is for you to supply the mind with energy and then direct it in a certain way. So no longer will the mind extract energy, the mind will be supplied with energy in a conscious and aware manner. So in the yogic philosophy, we call this different things. We call it manjit, we call it, surati ulati. There's different phrases which can encapsulate this process. But this enemy of mind can become your best friend, because think about it this way. If you can befriend this thing, you now have access to all of your sensory organs, to all of the subjects with which you interact with the world. And if you can now inject your will into that and your desire and principles into that, then think about how powerful that interaction can become. It is like, you've suddenly got complete control, complete access to everything which your body can possibly do, or your existence can possibly do, not really your body. So now you can sit in one place and you can be completely present. You can use all of the ability you have without being distracted. So this is kind of the promise of what the mind can give you. And the process of doing this is, of course, something we'll discuss more, I'm sure, and I'd love to hear from Chandanji as well. But the process of doing this, of reversing this flow, is called meditation. So that's my reflection on this. Maybe I'd love to hand over to Chandanji and get his thoughts too.
Thank you, Abhinavji. It was a really beautiful explanation. In order to add more, I would like to take one couplet from Swarved. मन संचालक देख का मन कर सकल पसार आत्म चेतन योग से मन कर कर्म अपार. Swamiji has written in Swarved, with the consciousness of the soul only, the mind gets active and controls the body. With the help of the mind, the soul interacts with the world. नेत्र अगर मन वास हैं जागृत में जग ज्ञान, मन माध्यम परमान में स्वप्न कंथ स्थान. When awake, the mind associates with the indriya and works on interacting with the outer world. And when the mind leaves the touch with the outer world and goes inside the nerve called hit in the neck, then it collects subjects from chit and produces dreams of the soul. Therefore, the experience of the soul is the same whether in awake or in dream. Swamiji has further written in Swarved, मन स्वरूप शैतान को बिन मारे नहीं शांत, भजन तजन कुछ नहीं बने, दुख में जीवन अंत. So these couplets of Swarved explain that how if mind is not controlled, how we will not be able to focus on doing anything, neither worship nor doing our daily life activities. So in one way, the mind is the strongest thing which we need to control, and we need to focus on that what we are going to do, what we are planning to do, and how mind is stopping us from doing this thing. So the question is, does it play the role of an enemy, or mind is a friend? So Swamiji has further explained, मनमुख जीव सुख ना मिले, मन अरे रह नहीं साथ, जग जीवन भ्रमत्व, Sadguru Sarana Sanat. The greatest enemy of the soul is the mind. Soul and mind are together for innumerable births. The soul is under the influence of the worldly desires and cravings raised by the mind. Unless the soul isolates itself from the play of the mind, it would not live in peace. The soul would never get true happiness while living just according to the mind. Mind would always keep the soul enslaved of the worldly subjects and bring sorrow in life. Therefore, one needs to seek shelter from Sadguru, who paves the path for the soul to true happiness and should lead life accordingly. Now the question is how it can be a friend. So we all know that mind is a powerful tool for the soul if kept in control. It is through mind that a human being is able to achieve everything in this world. However, when it goes uncontrolled, life is thrown in extreme sorrow due to actions taken under uncontrolled mind. Therefore, to make the best use of mind, one must practice things necessary to keep mind in control. The reason for uncontrolled mind is the raga, the attachments. Raga is like fire, and worldly subjects are like fuel of the fire. Mind is restless and impure due to attachments. Mind can be controlled only with abhyas and vairagya. We need to practice control over mind as well as work upon ending the attachments with worldly subjects. So this is what I believe. We all know that mind is uh, acting like a friend as well as enemy at the same time, and most of the times we are in negative direction. We are in control of mind, and we start doing the things which we should not do. And in order to control that, we need to practice. We need to follow the strict routines. So over to you, Sudhanshuji.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Chandanji, for this beautiful explanation. And as you gave reference from Swarved, you mentioned so many couplets where Swamiji has explained about mind, how it works, and when your mind will become your enemy, and how it will become your friend. So, as you were mentioning, that mind will become your enemy when mind is indulged in the external work, when mind is under raga. And if we want to make it friend, then we don't have to supply the material which will increase the fire of this raga. So what we need to do for that, as Chandanji mentioned, that we need to go with the practice of vairagya. And the practice of vairagya, how to achieve that, For that, as both Abhinavji and Chandanji mentioned, that meditation is a way, and of course, the blessing of Master, blessing of Sadhgurudev is the most important thing to make your mind friend from your enemy. So, thank you so much for joining us this week, Chandanji and Abhinavji. I think we have all been able to take away a few things from our discussion today. A humble thank you for from myself uh, to both of you and all who listening in today. Let's now move towards the Shanti part before a quick summary.
विराग त्याग की शांति हो, उदासीनता शांति, सेवा जित शिष्य शांति हो, सद्य शांति हो शांति। हे प्रभु शांति स्वरूप हो, शांति शांतिमय शांति, शांति शांति जन शांति हो, पूर्ण शांतिमय शांति। हे प्रभु शांति प्रदान कर, दूर हो सर्व अशांति, देव सदा फल शांति में, शांति शांति सुख शांति। हे प्रभु शांति प्रदान कर, दूर हो सर्व अशांति, देव सदा फल शांति में, शांति शांति सुख शांति।
As in today's session, we talked about today was the first session of strengthening meditation, and on the first session, we talked about mind, the friend, and the enemy. In the beginning, we start the discussion with what is mind, and Abhinavji and Chandanji has very beautifully explained that mind is not your brain, mind is not your breath, mind is neither conscious nor inert, and mind originates from Akshar. Further in the discussion, we also got to know that what are the different position of mind. Where is your mind when you are in the awake status? Mind is in front of our eyes when we are in awake status. When we are in dreaming state, mind is near our neck in Hita Nadi. And when we are in deep sleep state, mind is either in our heart or in the Brahmanda. Further, we also discussed about how your mind functions, how it functions in body. And during this discussion, we got to know that how mind interacts through the world through the energy of soul, and soul experience this entire world through mind. During this discussion, we also got to know that when the mind will become your friend and how it is your enemy. When mind is taking energy from the soul, what it means, when mind is controlling you, that time it is your enemy. And when it works under the control of soul, it's your friend, it's not your enemy. So when mind controls, when mind is under raga, and how this raga will go down when we stop supplying material to the fire of raga. And how we can do that? We can do that by continuous practice of vairagya, and for vairagya, we talked to go for a continuous practice of meditation. So, this is all what we talked in today's session. I think we all have a very good understanding about mind, how it works, how it becomes our friend, what is the path forward for that. Next week, we will come with the next lesson of this session. And with that, let's wrap up for the week. See you all next week. Have a great week ahead. Jai Shri Gurudev.